especially among teens. I think we all remember middle school, high school. Back when I came out, nobody ever said the L word out loud. It just wasn't said. So when a girl or boy, a young person comes out, or if they're kind of visibly people might suspect that they might be gay, even if they really are not, they get this huge amount of bullying, and I wouldn't even call it teasing because that's too light of a word, but a lot of pushback. Just kids are so cruel. And at this point, if a kid says that they identify as the opposite sex, they all of a sudden become stunning and brave, and there's a place for them. But, lesbians still get the same amount of hate in middle school that they always got when you went to middle school, or Carrie did, or I did. It was terrible, and I experienced it. I'm not a lesbian, bisexual, but yeah, that kind of hate about same-sex attraction, fear from the other kids. Boundaries are very permeable back then, and nobody wants to get the cooties. Mm-hmm. So, it's still really harsh. And you can see why kids don't want to come out into such a hostile environment if they are given this choice where, you don't have to be a lesbian. You could be a straight boy. You don't have to be a gay boy. You can be a straight girl.
Mm-hmm. There is a tremendous amount of infrastructure on the level of the schools now with the anti-bullying training or whatever, packets of anti-bullying stuff. And actually, from what I've heard and what I've seen, a lot of the transgender ideology is being inserted into schools through anti-bullying. They sneak in this incredibly illogical gender identity ideas. They just kind of stick them in there. Mm-hmm. And then there's a bunch of enforcement around pronouns and a bunch of support for that. And then a bunch of negative consequences for anybody, parent, janitor, teacher, principal, anybody that disagrees with the trans ideology, that doesn't conform to the pronouns on the level of the language. And then, from the pronouns goes the concept of male and female. And then you get into the ridiculous things that I hope aren't coming up into school, but probably are somewhere, such as the female penis and the male vulva or uterus, maybe, probably vulva. So it's really, the infrastructure is being set in place to guard you. So if you have this house where you can go in to it and you're safe from bullying, all you have to do is just accept this ideology that actually doesn't have logical foundations. It's completely created out of these imaginary concepts over here, but at least you're safe from negative social consequences, at least on the surface, or at least officially. So I can see it kind of creating a feedback loop there.
Well, I think the thing is actually it's the LGBT Inc. organizations that put it into the schools under the guise of bullying. It was a very direct, intentional campaign that they did all over the country. A couple of these big orgs in DC that did that. So, they're the same organizations that also been pushing the anti-conversion therapy laws and anti-gender identity. Right? You can't tell, that demands that a counselor must affirm someone's gender identity, right? No matter what their age is, right? So it's the same organizations that did the anti-bullying laws in schools. So when it comes to the school stuff, yeah, on the surface, it seems like, this is going to be good for the gay kids. But in reality, it's the gay kids who get targeted often because they're not conforming, or not gay kids, but the kids who kind of are the most non-conforming to sex stereotypes who might grow up to be gay, right? They're the kids who are often directly targeted by teachers, by the counselors as, maybe they're just trans. Maybe they're trans. And then they introduce the ideas, and now that kid can be really fast-tracked for medicalization. So, and then the parents become demonized and villainized if they don't go along with the pronouns.
Even up to and including losing their child.
Yes. Yeah, there's court cases now where this is going on, right? So, and that, you know, like we said earlier, that was a big part of, you know, why we were like, whoa, we have to get in this political game here and put our voices out there, because this is not okay, and it's not okay how parents are being, you know, demonized and treated and told that they're bigots and anti-gay, because they're not. A great majority of them are not. And so, but it's really interesting how I think that goes to the point about how when the T joined the LGB and they put in that gender identity stuff, it basically cancels out any benefit to the LGB. It cancels out what could benefit us, because gender identity actually undermines the potential benefits or rights of LGBT people, or to end bullying against, you know, gays and lesbians, bisexuals. Yeah.